Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Infernal Archive. I'm one of your hosts, Francois Nation.
I'm Andrew Sorsdahl.
And today, as dictated by fate and a little digital spinning wheel, the movie today is called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And I'm just going to read the quick Wikipedia description for you, and then maybe give you a tidbit that's interesting. So Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer is a 1986 American psychological horror crime film, directed and co-written by John McNaughton, about the random crime spree of a serial killer who seemingly operates with impunity. It stars Michael Rooker in his debut as the nomadic killer Henry. And when I was looking at movies that I haven't seen that I caught my ear or I thought might be interesting, Michael Rooker's name was the thing that kind of caught my eye.
That's what entices me about this as well.
Yeah, because he is, I think, by all accounts, just a fucking awesome actor.
Oh, yeah.
Great in The Walking Dead, great in Guardians of the Galaxy. He plays bits in a lot of movies, like smaller parts, but he's always like a standout in anything I've ever seen him in.
Yeah, like the quintessential kind of bad guy character actor guy.
Hick. He plays Hick better than like a Hick.
Actual Hick.
Yeah, he's a better Hick than actual Hick, sorry.
You gonna come up here and shut my mouth for me? Hey, kick off them damn high heels and climb.
So I was reading a little bit on Wikipedia about this. I didn't want to spoil anything, but like an interesting tidbit I saw was that this movie, when it came out, was rated X by the MPAA, which is very rarely awarded to films. So that kind of like helped it grow a cult status and like this whatever its mysterious
extra
nature.
Fucked up.
Yeah, by all accounts, this movie is super fucked up. And I was just talking to Andrew about this, but like when I was a younger man, like around 18, 19, and I was like going to film school, and I thought it was cool shit.
Edgy.
Very edgy in that arc of my life. I remember looking up a list of looking up lists of like the top 10 most fucked up movies or whatever. And I don't think I remember seeing this movie get on one of those lists. But the point is like, I thought it would be such a good idea to watch all these fucked up movies like, 10 years ago. And just don't do it. I don't see, there's no point. Like, you're not going to enjoy these movies. They're not good movies for the most part. They're just upsetting. And then you can't ever not have seen them. And so they're in your brain, taking up space that could be occupied by much more cheerful
I have
things.
Alex in my head saying, yeah, but that's the point.
Yeah,
like that's like watching Eraserhead with him, one of his favorite movies. And like this just made me angry and upset. And he was like, yeah, that you get it. Like that's what it is. I'm like, why did I do this?
So the point being that like I think this movie is supposed to be kind of one of those movies. Like by everything I've read online, it's just like very upsetting. It's supposed to be like a very realistic look at what a serial killer, like the thought processes and the behaviors of like an actual serial killer. Another quick like interesting thing, they shot it in less than a month for a budget of 110 grand, which in 86 is still very, very impressive.
That's not a lot.
Yeah, and in less than a month, like I don't know how ambitious the movie gets, but it's like shooting a movie in a month is like that's a clip you're moving at.
What's like the average shoot, like 8 to 10 weeks, kind of 8 to 12 weeks, I mean?
Yeah, it ranges big time, because I know there are like on the super low end of the scale, like 2 weeks I've heard of movies, like that's the quickest I've heard of movies getting shot. And then movies can take up to 4 months, up to 8 months if it's like a crazy a James Cameron or whatever.
Because I know we're a bit of a tangent, but I know that movie Everything Must Go, that Will Ferrell one, that was shot in like 2 weeks or something, or a month, like less than a month, I think.
Super quick.
And
I mean, like, we are ambitious to make movies one day, and I think like obviously if we were to make movies, it would be on a
4 to 6 week. Probably.
Yeah, it's like a small keep it pretty contained. And then last little tidbit I thought was interesting. The guy who did the poster art, his name is Joe Coleman. And apparently when the poster came out, everybody, like whoever judges these things, like the marketers, I guess, or this distribution company was like, that's too fucked up. We can't sell that. And so they had to change the artwork that was made for the movie to like just a picture of Michael Rooker, basically. And so that's how fucked up this movie is, that the official artwork was too fucked up. So
if we come back and we're traumatized and deflated, you know why.
Yeah. Hopefully
not.
Hopefully this movie is the most, like, I don't want this to be the theme of the show, is like these fucked up fucking things. But I decided, I was like, I want lots of genres and I want lots of stuff, like whatever.
Different countries.
So fuck it. We're getting thrown to the deep end right off the bat. Thanks so much. We'll catch you after we're done watching the movie.
They will say that I have shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
And ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And how very wrong we were about
so fucking
that
wrong.
film.
So wrong.
My mind is blown by how excellent the film we just saw was. From the writing to the performances to how unexpectedly the plot unfolded. I am so pleasantly surprised by that. Like, I can't remember the last time I watched a movie at random that impressed me as much as this movie did.
And usually with the horror genre, you're kind of set up to have low expectations going in and then be really disappointed.
Yeah.
Or like high expectations and disappointment.
Yeah.
But this is the opposite. Went in thinking, like it's going to be kind of arty or like, I don't know what, I really don't even fully know what my expectations were. They weren't good though.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is an easy standout.
Yeah.
For the time and for the genre, really.
Yeah. To go back to the writing, I think like the way that the dialogue scenes played out in this film and the how natural all the interactions were between the characters. If you told me that this was a lost Tarantino script, I would be like, it fully fits the bill.
What's it been? It's like a reward.
Like that's the type of dialogue that was like present all over this movie. It was like it would be two characters put into a really mundane situation. They're sitting at a kitchen table having a beer. They're driving around in a car. Some of them were like fucked up mundane situations, but it was like they're filming bums fighting, which is pretty fucked up. I mean, the main characters are that's the thing. I should say that out the front. The main characters are absolutely deplorable people. The two characters that we follow are psychopathic killers, like absolute sociopathic.
Of the highest order.
They only do terrible things in this movie. They have very little redeeming qualities, but in the same way that true crime is fascinating to watch, this movie is fascinating to watch. And I mean, like, I'm not giving the movie enough credit. These were just super fucking well fleshed out, interesting characters. Like, very well thought out, very thorough, very believable. Michael Rooker was incredible. I could see how anybody watching this movie, because this was his introduction, I could see anybody like watching Michael Rooker in this film, like James Gunn, seeing this film and being like, oh, I need this guy.
Expect big things out of this guy.
In my movies, yeah.
It's
like,
almost sad that this film didn't gain popularity and praise until much later.
And still,
yeah.
it feels like this is criminally underrepresented.
Yeah.
Like, we were kind of talking before, but a film that's kind of similar in tone and subject matter is like the new Joker movie that Todd Howard directed that movie. Todd Phillips directed that movie. And that movie had like Oscar buzz, and I think it was nominated for some Academy Awards. If this film, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, came out today, it would be nominated for Best Actor for Michael Rooker, Best Screenplay, maybe the cinematography would get a nod, and like the score I thought was excellent. There was one song in the film that I thought didn't fit, but I'm just gonna chalk that up to like sensibilities in the 80s rather than it being like a bad choice. But all the rest of the score, it felt like trying to emulate synth music. Like if you think about the score for Blade Runner, how it just it sets up this brilliant atmosphere. It felt like they were trying to do a similar thing, but with like traditional instruments. Like it was guitars and stuff, but trying to replicate the sounds that synth machines make. It was really unique, really well done. Loved the score to fucking death.
Oh yeah, I think that was a huge part of just setting the mood and tone, as any score is, but this one really was effective in, capping off points of emotion. If it was something like serious or fucked up, the score like just perfectly like gave us the mood for that. It capped off like kind of funnier moments. There were some good moments of the score there that kind of capped off some like not really jokes, but like just like not even lighter moments. I don't know what you call it, but just not as heavy moments. I guess.
Like the comedy was woven into this film because it is like
very subtle.
You chuckle a couple times, and it's like, but it feels so perfect for the film that they were trying to make and the tone they were trying to hit, and the add to the realism. It's like, Michael Myers is not a real. Well, we were kind of talking about this before. Like, you could look at fucked up characters like from revered ones like Hannibal Lecter, which are like a hoity-toity.
Toughened your nipples, didn't it?
And like Michael Myers, who's like a traditional slasher. these are not realistic people.
No,
Like
their motivations aren't remotely relatable or realistic.
they're very interesting to watch. They're very entertaining, but you never buy them as like, this is an actual thing that could happen to somebody. Or
this is a person that I can relate to in a meaningful way.
That could exist in the real world. Whereas Henry, in Henry Portrait of the Serial Killer, felt like a real person. And with real people, they make jokes. They make whatever. There's levity in real life. And they interjected that into this film in a way that felt just perfect. Just not too much, not too little. Just the way that real life unfolds when you're having a conversation with buddies and stuff.
Yeah.
I really want to shout out the cinematography too.
Big time. Yeah.
And like the editing to a degree, it's like the combination of the two. I was saying to Andrew before, when the movie started, you're showing all these like, basically you're showing victims of Henry off the gate. Like you're showing like 9 bodies in a row in various states of like death and decay and whatever. And you're not showing the murders, you're just showing the aftermath. And I was kind of saying to Andrew at first, I'm like, man, because they were shooting it sort of traditionally, like locked off on tripods. But then they would also interject like handycam style. And I was like, man, I think the handycam style fits this film better. Like they're shooting in 16mm film. It's very grainy. It's like we're following like a stalker serial killer. Like I'm like, I don't think the locked off tripods and like the more traditional filmmaking really fits this movie. But then I ate my words like moments later when the narrative started to unfold and the characters started to like interact with each other and like everything kind of came into its own. And then the narrative filmmaking perfectly made sense. And then the juxtaposition and the combination of the handycam style and the more traditional filmmaking felt like, yep, this is exactly what this movie needed to be. Like this was perfect, like very intentional filmmaking, like didn't feel random.
And there's a particular scene that's also kind of a turning point in the movie where they're in that like stolen electronics shop, shed, whatever. And things go from 0 to 100, but it feels like this really natural, like, oh, of course that's how this scenario is going to play out. And then that's where we introduce the Handycam camcorder into the story, which was just such a brilliant direction for them to go, and it opened things up. And further to your point about the cinematography, it allowed them to choreograph and film certain scenes in a way that wouldn't have played as well, I don't think, had they done what they had previously been doing with the hand cam or with the the traditional locked off on tripod thing. It allows us to like see POV from the perspective of the camcorder and like them watching the tape, and it just really informs just their descent into this like spree that they're on. Yeah. And just really adds like for the time that was just such a unique, and even now, just fresh take on this whole thing.
That's the thing, like the closest example I can think of a horror movie that came out recently and that tried to do maybe a little bit of a similar thing was Sinister that came out. Like the best parts of Sinister, if you've seen that movie, in my opinion, are when Ethan Hawke is watching the Super 8 films that he finds in his house, and they're really brutal and creepy and
so fucked
feel
up.
Very real. But man, I think this Henry movie did it much better. Like you're kind of, there are three different styles being utilized in this movie. There's the more traditional filmmaking, like with locked off tripods and movements and smooths and that kind of stuff. Then you have your more handycam style that feels raw and like not quite like a found footage movie, but a little more on that,
like more like documentary almost.
Yeah, documentary style kind of. And then you have like the characters in the film actually being filmmakers themselves. And like Andrew said, they get a camcorder, and then there's this home invasion scene in the film.
Brutal.
And had it been shot traditionally, I think it would have been much less. It probably would have still been great, but I think it would have been less convincing,
less impactful.
The way that you experience that home invasion is the two murderers watching a film they made of the home invasion after it's already happened, and it fits so well into the movie as a motif because most of the killings you only see, I think, 3 actual killings happen in this film, and there are way more. There are dozens of victims by the end, but most of the victims, like 80% of the victims, you see after the events have happened. You don't see the killing actually happening. And with this home invasion movie, it's the same thing. You're watching the tape after the event has happened. And it adds this layer of hopelessness that it's like, when you're watching a horror movie and you're watching the events unfold in front of you, you're like, maybe they'll get away. Maybe there'll be a happy resolution. But when you're watching the killers watch the film that they took, you know that these people aren't getting away. There is no happy resolution to this scene.
And the fact, like, the second that the tape is done, what's the first thing that Otis does? He hits rewind.
Wants to see it again.
Yeah. And that was just like, felt so real and raw.
Yeah.
And was just so chilling.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like they're at a point in this like whatever spree, this arc that they're on, where it's like they can't get enough of this just brutality. And it was very impactful. It's also because it's on a hand cam. For me, anyways, it felt just so real.
Yeah.
It felt so real and made me feel really uncomfortable. And I think this film does it in a way that other similar films in the horror genre don't do as well. This one brought this continually. This film brought me to the point of, ooh, I'm really uncomfortable. I don't like that, and then let off the gas. And it continually did that, where it was like brought me to the brink of being like almost too uncomfortable, and this is too fucked up.
Yeah.
And then it eased off the gas.
Yeah, I didn't. What's the word? Fuck, it's a super common word, but it's like what you're being. It's like being extra. It's like egregious. Like there's so many movies that like Eli Roth is an example of this. It's like a lot of I like Eli Roth and I like his movies, but a lot of his movies feel like they're way too indulgent and way too like there's too much. Like I get what you're going for. You don't need to show me 5 more minutes of this fucked up thing that you're showing me. I got it in the 30 seconds. Yeah. This movie doesn't do that. It doesn't indulge. It's not trying to it's like it is showing you these killings and these murders after the fact. Like this is what we needed to tell the story that we were trying to tell and to present you with the characters that we wanted to present you with. Nothing feels wasteful or too much.
Very elegant in general.
Yeah, and it's like, in saying that, the movie deals with a lot of fucked up subject matter. Incest is dealt with, rape is dealt with and depicted, murder obviously, like brutal, like sadomasochistic fucked up shit. Like it deals with all these things, but it does it like a movie should do it. If you're gonna present this stuff,
have something insightful and interesting to say about it, and also do it in a way that gets the point across, but isn't overindulgent.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a kid playing Grand Theft Auto. Like, look at how many times I can stab the prostitute. Yeah, you're so edgy, kid. Like you're fucked. Like it doesn't feel like that. It feels like it's telling a story. I kind of described the movie this way. Like the film, in terms of its main dynamic and the way that the two main characters play off of each other, feels like a fucked up Batman story. Like how Batman has Robin and he's training him how to be a crime fighter and he's training him how to kind of be the next Batman or whatever. So he has a lineage.
Who's your tailor?
This movie, Michael Rooker, who's the main villain, like the main slasher, he basically gets his own Robin, but like not a young guy, like somebody who's the same age or whatever, but he's showing him the ropes of murder and how to get away with it and how to be a serial killer.
And it starts off, it's not on his face that sounds like, oh, like how is that gonna naturally come about? But it happens so naturally. And it there's a point early on where you're like, oh, he's gonna fucking kill this guy, and then it goes a totally other direction where it's like, I'm like, oh, for sure this guy's dead, and then and then like half an hour later, oh, they're murdering people together now. What the fuck? And just that progression and how it slipped into that new arc felt so natural, felt so like now that I've seen the movie, it's like, oh, of course it went that way.
Yeah.
But like watching it, there's no way you could predict it.
That they introduce a character right at the beginning of the film, which is not Michael Rooker, but Michael Rooker's ward that I was just talking about, his sister. And she is sort of the innocent, like, good aspect of the movie. So the movie isn't just fucked up shit. It's like they have a character who is, by all accounts, kind of like an innocent, good, trying to do her best character. And she moves in with her brother and Michael Rooker, who they live together in a flat. And right at the beginning of the movie, because you've already seen how fucked up Michael Rooker is, it's the first thing they establish is that Michael Rooker is a sociopathic killer.
And they have this connection right off the bat.
Yeah, and the other thing they established pretty well is like he mostly kills women. Like most of his victims are women. So when you see this innocent girl, you're like,
she's dead.
She's dead. Like she isn't making out of this movie. But the brilliant thing about her character is introducing her at the beginning and characterizing her in the way and making her so her story so tragic and like something that you want to root for is like you need to watch it all the way through. Like I need to see what happens to this girl. And then that ties into the ending. I don't want to spoil the ending in any way, but it's like the film, it could have kind of went, if you were to predict at the beginning of the movie which way it's going to go, you're like, it's going to go one of two ways. And somehow it picks a third lane that it gives a really satisfying conclusion, and it's probably the thing. It is probably the thing you think it is.
Yeah,
But maybe it's not. It like does the thing that in the first episode we said good horror needs to do. Good horror can't leave you with an ending where the main
Satisfying.
characters, ride off into the sunset. Like it has to feel a little unsettling. It has to feel a little unresolved. It has to feel a little fucked up, a little sad. It has to end on a downer. And this movie manages to kind of have its cake and eat it too, where it doesn't just outright tell you this is what happened. It's probably that thing that happened, but maybe it isn't.
Yeah.
And so it gives you just that little smidgen of like maybe whatever wasn't the thing.
Yeah, it doesn't spoon feed it to you. Yeah, it's definitely not a movie that is for everyone.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it's very intense and brutal and like very what's the word I'm looking for? Like very visceral, graphic. But if generally like the slasher and violent genres are a thing that you enjoy, this is absolutely a must watch. I would say.
Like if your Venn diagram, if you're the type of person who's like, I love true crime and I love Tarantino films and I don't mind a bit of like really brutal, realistic violence, this movie is gonna float your boat in the best way. Like like we said at the beginning, I was so pleasantly surprised by this film. We were talking about how like I have on my walls I have movie posters, and it's I'll get like movie posters from when they were originally printed, and that's something that I like to adorn my place with. But I only get movies that I like are unique to me and that I really love and
not the generic typical.
Like I'm not gonna. We were talking Pulp Fiction. Like I'm not gonna be the guy that puts Pulp Fiction on. I'm gonna find a movie that's a little speaks a little bit more to who I am, and I would fully get a poster like this and put it on my wall. I love this movie so much, and I can't believe I've went nearly 30 years of my life without really. I'm sure I've heard of it, but I never gave it the time of day. Nobody's ever like.
That is the beauty of this series, is that we're these movies that maybe have crossed our path in some way where it's like, oh, that sounded interesting, but we passed over. We're taking a look at them because we're doing a series. And with that being said, what is our next thing? Only the wheel can tell.
And the wheel spins, the wheel spins. What will it be next time? Hopefully not Henry again.
Just about was.
Oh, baby. Is
Another
it
80s?
No, wait, no. Funny Games from 2007 will be the next film. It was almost, there's an experimental film in this batch, and I'm really excited for when we get to that because of what that's going to be like. But it wasn't the experimental film. Funny Games from 2007. That is the movie for the next Infernal Archive show. Thank you so much for watching, and we will check you out. Fuck, I said that in the first one too. Check us out. It's not a thing. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next show.
Like, subscribe,
All that
watch
good
the next
stuff.
episode. Thank you.
Thank you.